Welcome to my free series of leadership and ritual facilitation videos. You can donate to help me offer more of these classes and write on these topics. There's more information in the video details below.
So welcome to our ritual webinar, where we're going to be talking about all sorts of different ritual techniques. And most of these questions are coming from Terry. And Terry, I'll let you introduce yourself if you want to. But I really appreciate you asking all these questions, because I can talk about ritual technique and all that stuff, but it's really great to have specific, like, these are issues you're running into and questions you have. So if you want to, just go ahead and do a quick intro of yourself and where you're from, and we'll go into your awesome questions.
Excellent. My name is Terry Brookins. I am a lay chaplain with the Clergy Support Memorial Church, and also a reverend in the Correllian tradition. So I am priestess. I'm a ritual leader. I marry people. I've been doing that for quite some time now, and I just have lots of questions about rituals, and because I want to put on more of them. So I have lots of questions for Shauna.
Awesome. So why don't you go ahead and just we'll just start with your first questions, and we'll go till we drop.
Okay, so my first question is about ritual structure. Everyone from every path has a different way to create ritual, from the complicated to the let's do this attitude. So what are your experiences with the complicated and simple rituals? Do you set up a structure based on group size, area, and what are some pitfalls that we should look out for?
It's such a huge question, but it's really, I would say ritual structure is at the core of everything that I do. Whenever I talk to folks that are like, oh, that energy raising seems so effortless, I'm like, because I look at ritual as architecture. It's sculpture. Like, if I want 50 people singing and dancing at the end of the ritual and raising a bunch of energy, I have to sculpt that entire ritual to make that happen. And so the way I I do have kind of a core structure that I work from. I've been working with it long enough that I think it's a pretty simple structure, and it's a structure that replicates very well. And it's kind of like Legos. I've got this core kind of structure, and then I can add in different things. What I would say, there's two things that add a lot of complexity to a ritual. Well, there's more than two things, but two things. One is how many. I'm not even going to limit it to two. There's how many participants do I have? The number of participants is really going to impact what kind of a ritual I can do. If I'm doing a ritual for 15 to 20 people, I'm not going to be able to do the same kind of energy raising that I can do with a group of 50 or 100. And if I've got 200 to 500 people, it's a whole separate thing entirely. So that the number of people really impacts the structure quite a bit. The number of people I have taking ritual roles also significantly impacts the structure. I really like it when I have people volunteering to step in and take ritual roles, but the downside of that is if they're folks I haven't worked with a lot, and they maybe are coming from a different tradition, and they're not used to the very ecstatic and participatory ritual style that I use, that becomes difficult because I don't know what energetically they're going to do with the group or be able to do. And that energetic, so like I said, it's sculpture. So if someone does, if I say, okay, why don't you do the invocation for air, and you do it for fire, and you do it for water, and you do it for earth. And if someone goes out and does a really flat invocation, or something that's really non-engaging, that takes that energetic sculpture I'm trying to build toward that peak, and it drops it down. Sometimes it's just a matter of their facilitation skills and their logistics too. If maybe someone has those great poetic liturgies, but they can't project their voice. So that's something that's part of your sculpture, is not just the participants, but who is taking ritual roles and what are they going to do energetically with that. That being said, it's really boring for me to facilitate an entire ritual on my own. The diversity of voices and multiple people's energy as facilitators helps build that energy as well. There's more people invested in the ritual. People respond well. This is just actually from educational theory, but people respond well when the speaker changes. So when you have the person who's speaking changing up, that also helps build more engagement because it keeps people from tuning out, which is incidentally just to meta process what we're doing. That's why we're doing what we're doing this way and having the question and answer format, because it's more engaging. So the other structural thing that really can change stuff quite a bit is also where the ritual is located. The space that the ritual is going to be in significantly impacts what you can do. I've used this example a couple of times, but it's a really fantastic example. There's a pagan event, and I'll leave it anonymous because for the moment, just because they I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but it's a pagan event, big large pagan festival, couple day event, and their ritual area is out in the sun. Like it's in a park. There's lots of trees. There's lots of trees around the ritual area, but their actual main ritual area is out in the sun. This particular event is a summer event. So this particular ritual I'm thinking of, it was at least 95 degrees, almost noon, so the sun's right overhead, bright, clear day, and there were about 150 people in the ritual. Now, one of the things about trees, like if you're doing an outdoor ritual, trees provide two amazing things. They provide shade, so you're not burning, and they also provide sound cover. So if you're trying to do that, public speaking for 150 people, that's a large group. And if you have no tree cover, your voice is just going out. And if it's humid, it's also just, it's getting sucked out into the air. So, the space that your ritual is in affects everything from your vocal projection. It impacts how long people can stand out there in 95-degree heat in the sun. The kind of ritual I can do in 95-degree heat in the sun is about the same ritual I can do in 35-degree weather in March for Ostara. It's do it fast, do it hard and get it done. Or you can do what I often do, which is I say, hey, let's go over here under these lovely trees, and I move it over. The other thing that I often do, when you've got, if you've ever seen a ritual of 150 people standing in one big circle, even I would have trouble projecting that far. I have a big loud voice, but that's a stretch for me. My voice is going to be a wreck after that. So you can bring people in closer, and you can do a double, triple ring, and then you don't have to project as far, and also bringing people in closer builds energy. So there's, those are all different structural things with ritual. And so I would say that different paths, to go back to your question, different paths have different ways of creating ritual. What I often recommend, and I've said this in a couple of my articles, is go back to the intention of each piece of the ritual and look at what it's supposed to accomplish. Because a lot of people get stuck in my tradition says we have to do this, so let's do this. Is that tradition piece really serving in this context? And here's an example. I've been to many pagan rituals, public rituals, like at pagan pride events where they're doing cakes and ale. And what works well for a group of 15 to 20 people does not scale for a group of 80 to 150 people. Have you ever been to one of those rituals where there's the cakes and ale is going on forever and people start having side conversations, and and then the ritualists get upset because people aren't focusing on the mystery. And the issue is if you're, and it depends very much on what your intention for cakes and ale is. For, and different traditions have different intentions for it. For some traditions, that is the kind of social time, sorry, 4th of July fireworks here. So some traditions, it's the social time kind of for congregational connection. You're eating your snack and drinking your cup of whatever, and it is a time for that sharing and connecting and socializing. Most traditions, in my experience, the cakes and ale is kind of the divine communion piece. It's much like receiving the communion wafer, during a Catholic mass. So if your intention is that divine communion piece, this big complicated logistic that is taking a long time and is not focusing for people, not keeping people focused, that you're not meeting your intention. So that's my recommendation for ritual structure is really, make an outline of your structure. You can do flashcards with it. You can write it out in a Word document, but really, make two rows. Like, here's the thing that we always do, but really look at what energetically is that supposed to do. And if you don't know, really think about it. Really think about what that piece is, because that will help you create kind of a core structure. And then, like elemental invocations is a fantastic example, because if it's just me facilitating a ritual, and I'm, when I'm traveling and teaching, I often do like pagan pride rituals where I may be the only ritualist. I might not be able to tag anybody else in. So if I'm doing the elemental invocations and it's just going to be my boring voice going on and on, I will make those really fast. I'll often sing them. I'll get the group doing something engaging and maybe get them singing the invocation with me, so that it's not just my voice, but that's pretty fast. On the other hand, if I have a team of skilled ritualists that I'm working on, that process is going to take longer because I'm using each of those invocations to take people deeper into a trance state and into that, that kind of altered state headspace I want them to get into so that they can open up to the divine communion. So that's kind of a quick and dirty overview of ritual structure and how I approach it. And then I think to your question of what are the pitfalls we should look out for, I think a lot of your other questions address those. So I think we can just go into that.
If you have any questions about ritual facilitation or leadership for pagan groups, please feel free to contact me. I love questions and I love writing articles or recording videos for actual issues that people are facing in the community. If this webinar is useful for you, please consider donating. It is my goal to make this education available for all, but to do that I have to pay the bills. I also have several books available, and there are links below under Show More, or you can contact me via my website or social media.